Heisman Trophy. Jalen Milroe, suddenly your favorite at 2-1. Cam Ward, 5-1. Travis Hunter is 7-1. Boise State running back Ashton Genty is 10-1. Dylan Gabriel, 14-1. Nico Iamaleava is 16-1. I'm trying to figure out where I would put my money here. If you like Tennessee, wouldn't you like Nico as well if they come up with a big win here in a couple weeks?
I think as far as value plays, again, it's going to be Nico to win the Heisman. But I do think it's going to be difficult to pry this award from Jalen Milroe's hand. Again, this is something that will be probably decided in that Tennessee game, October the 19th. But this race is really interesting. I think I'm throwing Cam Ward out. Like, it feels like Miami doesn't play anybody. So, if you have Jalen Milroe who's putting up like pretty good numbers against SEC competition, he obviously has the upper hand. What about Travis Hunter? Like, this is something that we have not seen, and I feel like there's very little precedent for because he plays on both sides of the ball, but he's an absolute playmaker. But how much of a case can you make for somebody to win the Heisman when they're not a team that's expected to have a winning season?
Yeah, it's tough. I will say this. Colorado's playing some pretty good football right now. And so sometimes you just got to eat crow, and it's a long season. But I was fading Colorado at the beginning of the year. I thought they were very much overvalued. But Deion has done a nice job here. He really has. And I believe they were 14.5-point dogs last week to UCF. Won outright. Travis Hunter was awesome in that game. So I think there's still a case to be made for Travis Hunter for a couple reasons. Number one is when you're a dual threat or you're someone who competes on both sides of the football and competes at a high level, then I think you're given more of the benefit of the doubt. And what I mean by that is, okay, for most guys, wins matter and how your team is performing matters, but we'll give you a little bit of slack because you're playing on both sides of the ball. No one else does that. At the same time, I also think Colorado could end up being better than expected. Thus far, they have. So I was fading the Buffaloes early on. I'm not trying to flip-flop here, but the results are the results. They've been better than expected. So if Colorado continues to surprise and pick up more wins than we expected, and Hunter is getting it done like he has so far, I can see him coming home. He's the third favorite here.
I just don't think that if Colorado does not make the college football playoff, the 12 teams, I don't think that he wins the Heisman because it's going to mean one of these quarterbacks is having a good season, whether it's Jalen Milroe, whether it's Nico. We were going to put Quinn Ewers in that category. It sucks that, he's missed a few games, but I still think at the end of the day, it's a quarterback award.
It is. No, I think you're right about that. Travis will get some run for sure, but man, especially now more recently, just almost always goes to a QB. It is a good time to be an Alabama football fan. Crimson Tide coming off that huge win over Georgia, now tied with Ohio State as the favorites to win the national title in college football. Each plus 375, Texas 5-1, Georgia plus 650, Oregon 10-1, Tennessee 11-1. And I don't know what stands out to me here, but I would say that if you're ever going to get on the dogs, because Georgia is still an exceptional football team, almost won that game against the Tide, this is great odds for the dogs if you like Georgia.
Yeah, but I don't like Georgia, so I won't be placing that bet. I wanted to ask you this because I feel like this is a little different now that we have a 12-team playoff, and I'm aware that there's going to be buys, but it does feel to me like maybe there's more volatility than there used to be, just by virtue of the fact that there's more teams in it. So I was thinking, do you bet on the national championship winner or do you bet on the SEC championship winner? Because obviously, a lot of that has to do with the regular season, and then it's just one game at the end. So let me ask you this, because I know you like Texas. You went to Texas, but even if you're not being biased, Texas is a damn good team. And I think you could make a really strong case, even if you're not a fan of Texas. So would you rather take Texas to win the national title at 5-1, or they're the favorites to win the SEC championship game at 2-1? But again, I feel like there are less things that kind of have to go in their favor. Which bet do you like better?
I'd go for the Natty. Let's go 5-1. Yeah, I like the value there. I don't know if Texas is going to win the national title. I absolutely believe they have the talent to win the national title, but it's just so tough to do. This is really about value. I would much rather bet on winning the SEC, particularly now that Georgia is a little bit wounded and now they have to come to Austin. So I think that helps Texas. I'm glad Texas is not number one. I think this is good for this team to fall back a spot. Let Alabama have that spot. They're better it's hard to say you're an underdog at number 2, but I don't know if Texas is ready for that yet. Sort of struggled last week. But I kind of like Texas at 5-1 just because you can still lose that game and make a run to the national title.
True.
And if you think they're going to be that good or they have the talent to do so, and I do, I'd rather take a shot at better odds. So I would lean 5-1, but that's a very good question.
I think the other value play on the board right now has to be Tennessee, right? Because it feels like we haven't even seen, what their true potential is. We've seen them kind of dominating these other teams. And of course, I think the thing that jumps off the page is it's not just Nico and that offense. It's the defense that we saw on full display against Oklahoma that really stole the show. So I think when you combine that defense with a rocket arm of Nico on the offense, and you see the odds here, what are they, 10-1 to win the national title? And even if you look at their SEC championship odds, they're plus 450. And we will know what they truly look like pretty soon. Because don't they play Tennessee? What is it, the 2nd October or is it the 1st October? Like, it's the same weekend every single year, but they're playing soon. So we'll know.
Yeah, we're going to find out pretty quickly. Man, I love college football season. I'm so glad we're in the thick of it right now. It's fantastic. But I think
October
it's a good
19th.
Yes.
That's when they play.
All right. So it's coming up. And with Nico and Tennessee's very good. That's probably the best value play on the board right now.
Total's 50.5, which is the highest on the board this week, with the 49ers Cardinals total coming down just a little bit. So over 50.5. In this game, we have a defense that can't stop the run, going up against one of the best rushing attacks in the league. And then we also have a defense that can't stop the pass, going up against one of the best passing attacks in the league. Bengals are terrible at containing the run. Ravens have the best rushing attack with Derrick Henry, right? The Ravens can't really stop the pass. They're giving up nearly 260 yards in the air. And the Bengals are a top 6 team in passing yards. Burrow and Chase, that connection continues to grow. T. Higgins back and healthy. So I think we get this one looking a lot like a shootout, and I would take over 50.5.